Hello everyone, Nomad here, and today I'll be doing a lesson in the close air support flow, also known as the 12 steps of CAS. The 12 steps of CAS is the bread and butter of CAS and what you need to know as either in real life aircrew or of course in DCS or BMS or any other sim. It is a workflow from like getting in contact with the JTEC, working with the JTEC, and then egressing out of his airspace. My references for today is the joint publication 309.3 close air support. This is a US publication, and also ATP 3321, which is a NATO publication. Full disclosure, I actually did this lesson from the top of my head, so I kind of mixed both of them, but this is without going. There's a lot of nuance here, but I tried to simplify this and make it as palatable as possible for DCS players or pilots or pilots with a Y, however you want to call it yourself. So, anyways, I've divided the 12 steps of CAS into three parts, what I like to call. So this is entirely my thing. The admin part, the brief, and the attack. I do this just to visually kind of, you have a big cake, a big pie, and it's easier for you if you divide it into multiple slices, so it's easier for you to digest. So, admin part. So we'll start off with routing. So you're en route to your designated AO, whatever, and then you're in contact with your uh, airspace authority, whatever that is, and usually you would reach a CP, which is a contact point. Then you would do a handover from your airspace authority to a JTAC. Most of the time you would use the CP, but not always, obviously. So you'd push to strike frequency, which is which is the frequency you're gonna use with the JTAC, and you'll do a radio check. Just do a standard radio check. You can use 5x5, loud and clear, Lima Charlie, whatever, and then follow routing instructions. So don't start off with a check-in. Don't be saying just you push to the frequency like, hey, we are two flight F-16s, we are armed with this and this and this, inbound for this and this and this, because there could be something going on. So there could be an attack in progress. The JTAC in the attacking aircraft needs the net open, so JTAC can issue clearance or whatever. So when you first hop onto the frequency, do a radio check, and just before you even do that, just listen for a couple of seconds or just see if anything's going on, and so you don't interrupt anything important, such as an attack. And then from then on, just do whatever the JTAC tells you to do. It's always nice working with an aircrew that has initiative and can kind of do their own thing, but if in doubt, if you're new, if you're inexperienced, don't push anything. Just wait for the JTAC to tell you what to do, or he will tell you what he's going to request something from you, okay? So for routing instructions, usually he will tell you to establish an IP, so you're probably going to have one or multiple IPs. He'll tell you what IP to establish, and by establish I mean you would either hold a racetrack pattern with the IP being the closest point of the racetrack to the target area, or you would hold a wheel, so orbit anchor around the IP. Usually you would do a racetrack with the IP being closest to the target. He will also issue an altitude block, so he might say hold the block from flight level 120 up to 220. So that's the block that you can work with as a flight. He might also just say maintain current position altitude, so then that means you will hold your position at the CP if he's too busy doing something else. And he might also here ask you to state position altitude, so be ready to tell him like I'm at CP holding flight level this and this, or we are from the target area southwest 40 miles, whatever. Okay, and you're done with the first step. Excellent. So moving on to the second step, which is aircraft check-in. So JTAC will tell you something like send check-in when ready, or just send check-in. don't push, don't start the check-in until he's ready, because he is on the ground, he's boots on ground, he's being fired upon, he's controlling, he's doing a bunch of shit. So you have to cater to him, not him to you, because you might be used to working with GCIs or AWACS or ATC or whoever, and those people are sitting in their offices with a cup of coffee, with a pen and paper, laptop, computer in front of them, whatever, and they can kind of adjust to you. But here in this case, you need to help out the JTEC as much as you can, which is being patient at first. So your check-in can be as fragged if the JTEC already has this information, and you can also, if there's any changes to the fragged loadout or whatever, you can tell him, obviously. So checking in as fragged with changes to something, something, whatever. Usually, if it's not as fragged or something big changed, you would check in something like this is Hog flight, flight of 2 by 810 Charlies. Currently holding IP Nora at and holding block from flight level 100 up to flight level 120. Playtime of 60 minutes and carrying 2 Maverick Deltas, 2 GBU-12s, 2 GBU-38s per aircraft. Laser codes are 1511 for -1, 1512 for -2. Lightning pod equipped and carrying Conop Blue Sky, or I have Conop Blue Sky on board, so something like that. In that terms, okay. It's fairly simple, so don't overcomplicate it. The most important things are playtime, weapons, laser codes. But yeah, if you miss something, if you don't say something that's important, JTEC will ask you if he thinks it's important. So don't worry too much, but just worry a little bit. Next up is situation update. So you've sent your check-in, but now JTAC will most likely return with a situation update. So a situation update is there for the aircrew to increase situation awareness. So you guys get an idea of what's happening on the ground, and then when you're looking out your window or through your TGP, that you know what you're looking at, and you can kind of gather a picture faster than you would without a situation update. So the situation update can also be attached to a ConOp or a concept of fires or whatever, so you might get a situation update before you take off, and they will usually be named SUC whatever. So SUC is situation update code 21 alpha. Let's say that's the name. So if Mike Olsen is Grinch 21, then I'll probably name my situation update 21 alpha, 21 bravo, 21 Charlie, whatever. And JTAG might ask you, confirm you have SUC 21 alpha on board, and then you say confirm, and then he might say ready to copy changes, and then he'll just say the changes to the situation update code. If there is no SUC aboard, then the template used is TTFucker, which is threats, targets, friendlies, RT, capabilities, and restrictions. This is friendly RT, by the way. Not so relevant in DCS, I guess, but in real life it is. So what kind of threats do we have? What target set can you expect? Where are friendlies located, and what are they doing? Friendly RT, is it shooting, is it not, or is it whatever? What are the capabilities? This is like capability / control, I guess. What are the capabilities of the JTAC? Does he have a laser target designator or whatever? And then who has control? Usually it's the JTAC. And then any restrictions, any specific restrictions that are in effect. Awesome. So this is the admin part done. This is the boring part that you have to do before you can do the fun stuff. Any questions? No. Excellent. I love when there's no questions. I should probably be recording this without an audience. That's a good idea. Anyways, now we move on to the brief. So, next up, we've done the admin part. You're holding at your IP, we're doing whatever, and then JTAG is like, say ready game plan, and you're like, fuck yeah, let's do this. So, game plan must include a type of control and a method of attack. So, type of control, you have 1, 2, or 3. Type 1 is not used. I mean, we can disregard this. If you're given a type 1 control, you would do exactly, as a pilot, you would do exactly the same as you would do for a type 2. So if it's a type 1 or type 2 for you, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing to you. It's not the same thing to the JTAC, but screw the JTAC, whatever. Um, so type 2 is when you're given a clearance for each attack. So when you call in, you're flying in, yeah, everything is set. You call in from the south, and JTAC is cleared hot. And then you drop your ordnance. It can be one bomb, multiple bombs, whatever. But then once your attack run is done, you are supposed to egress back to the IP or whatever egress instructions you're given. Um, and then if you are doing another attack, you need to receive another clearance, another cleared hot to attack. If you're doing a type 3, then you will be told cleared to engage, and that means that you can do multiple attacks, and you've been cleared for multiple attacks basically with this. So you would say commence engagement, and then you would do a one pass, drop a bomb, come in around, drop another bomb, come in around, do guns, whatever. So until certain requirements have been met, and then you would say engagement complete. So again, type 2 or type 1 is a single clearance for a single attack, and type 3 is a single clearance for multiple attacks. Awesome. Method of attack, you have bomb on target or bomb on coordinate. To be simple, in a bomb on coordinate attack, in a bomb on target attack, aircrew needs to be tally or capture the target. Tally is when you can see the target with your eyes, captured if you can see the target with your sensor, including your targeting pod, but most people just use tally. They don't use captured, which is technically incorrect, but if you say tally, okay, you can see the target, so that's good enough for me. If you're doing a BOC attack, that means that you will not be able to see the target or cannot see the target because of a cloud layer or whatever, and you're just dropping on a set of coordinates. If it's a BOC, and if at any time you see the target and you call tally, then we are immediately switching to a bomb on target method, okay? Because that is preferable. I'd rather for you to see the target than to drop on a set of coordinates. Game plan can also include tactics such as like shooter, cover shooter, whatever. I can also request intervals. If you're doing shooter, I can request 30-second separation. I can also request a bunch of other stuff, but it's not that important. I might also state here in game plan, expect MGRS 6 digits in line 6, for example. Or I can say expect lat long degrees minutes decimal minutes in line 6. I can do a bunch of stuff here. It doesn't really matter. You get the gist. Awesome. We can move on. CAS brief. There we go. The famous 9-line, which is technically not the correct term. The correct term is CAS brief, but 9-line is almost always used. Nobody knows what a CAS brief is, but everyone knows what a 9-line is. A 9-line surprisingly consists of not 7, not 8, but 9 lines. Wow, who would have guessed? Okay, excellent. So, lines. So 1 is your initial point from which you're starting the attack. It usually has a name. It should have a name. Heading is from the IP to the target in degrees magnetic, and distance is from the IP to target in nautical miles. However, lines 1, 2, 3 can be abbreviated, and usually in this DCS, I will abbreviate my lines 1, 2, 3, such as lines 1, 2, 3 from IP, name of the IP, so from IP Sarah, for example, because I don't need to tell you the heading and distance, because usually your computer can do a much better job than me in doing this, so there's no need for that. It is still a requirement because of aircraft that do not have modern navigational equipment, computers, whatever, targeting computers, but in here most aircraft do, so I'll just abbreviate lines 1, 2, 3 from the IP. Lines 1, 2, 3 can also be from current hold and can also be from the overhead. So if we're doing target area tactics, which is a wheel, so your typical Afghanistan pattern where an aircraft is circling overhead, then it's lines 1, 2, 3 from the overhead. But if you're doing IP to target tactics, where your aircraft is holding 15 miles away from the target area, then we'll do lines 1, 2, 3 from the IP or from current hold. Excellent. We can also do keyhole, but I'm not going to open that can of worms. Yeah, no. So line 4, elevation in feet. Yeah, sure. Target description. 2 technicals in open, westbound. 2-story building, Lima shaped, whatever. It has to be like short, but clear. If there's a need for a detailed description, it's done in correlation. Target location. Usually we would do MGRS coordinates, but we can do lat long, degrees, minutes, decimal minutes if requested by the aircraft. And if you have any desires for your line 6, make sure you state them in your check-in, so I don't send a line 6 MGRS and then you're sitting in your cockpit and you're like, fuck, I don't know how to input MGRS coordinates because I'm a dumbass who hasn't practiced my shit. Cool, excellent. Mark type. So, by the way, this is kind of a mix, as I said, of JPub and ATP. Whatever, doesn't matter for you. So, yeah, most of the time, I guess no mark. Could be smoke or colored smoke. However, just remember that smoke will be deployed when requested, so smoke can't be up for the entire time. We need to pick a time because smoke is going to last for a couple of minutes, so if mark type is smoke, make sure you kind of request that when you are like 2 minutes out for your JTAC to deploy the smoke. Laser, so if you're doing a ground laser, or no, if you're doing an off-board laser, so if someone else is lasing that's not you or your flight member, so if you or your flight is not lasing, then if someone else is lasing, then it's laser. And by lasing I mean terminal guidance of your weapon. If you're doing a laser handoff, so a laser is always a bomb on coordinate, but if we're doing a laser handoff, that is bomb on target, because if you're doing a laser handoff, that means you will use your laser spot search or laser spot tracker to locate my laser, and then you'll see exactly what I'm seeing, and you'll have your targeting pod on the target that I want you to look at, and then that means you will be tally, or you will be captured, whatever. There's specific terminology here, but not really that important, to be honest, in DCS, because the coordinates I give you are usually really accurate, so there's no need for laser handoff most of the time. But if you are using your laser, so either you or your wingman, if you're doing eyeball shoot or whatever, then mark type will be no mark, because it will be a bomb on target. And then if I request you to use a GBU-12, it's going to be no mark. If you're using your own laser, that doesn't matter to me. It's not part of the 9 line, so I don't have to specify that. I'm just going to say no mark. You can see the target. You do whatever you need to do to shoot the target if it's within your capabilities and within your flight. Cool. Excellent. Questions? No questions. Great. So frame location is direction from target and distance in meters. You use cardinal or sub-cardinal directions, so south, southwest, and then 500 meters, 600 meters, 2 kilometers, whatever works. Egress instructions, so usually it will be egress back to IP. Sometimes you would get egress west to the IP if the JTAC wants you to egress a certain direction. You can just say egress west, and that usually means west back to the IP. So just if JTAC tells you to egress west, and just don't egress east, please try to follow instructions. That'll be very nice of you, very kind of you. Thank you very much. Questions? No questions. Excellent. So we move on to remarks and restrictions. Cool. So remarks can include a bunch of stuff, but here what's important is weapons. So what weapons I request. I can request on like a GBU-12, or I can tell you weapons at flight lead's discretion, or I can ask you for weaponeering. So if I ask you, please advise on weaponeering, and then you as a weapons expert will say, I recommend this and this weapon for this and this target. I can also give you desired points of impact. So if we're attacking a building, I can tell you your DPI is south half of the building, whatever, and other stuff such as tactics. Again, tactics can go here. Tactics can also go here. Whatever remarks, whatever. You know, you'll understand. It's not that hard. You're just flying a jet and doing all this stuff. It's simple. Come on, how hard can it be? Restrictions usually include final attack heading or direction. So, difference. Final attack heading. Actually, oh, I can use this to draw, right? Ooh. So, let's say here is a target. Cool. Can I change my color? How can I change colors? I don't know. Huh? Haha. So that's your target, okay? So, if I give you a final attack direction, I will tell you final attack direction is from west to east. Cool, right? It's very simple, self-explanatory. But if I want to be an asshole, I'm gonna give you a final attack heading. So I will give you a fan. So let's say final attack heading is 030 clockwise. So CW 100, for example. That means that you need to come in from this way, and your final attack heading, so the heading that you can read on your HUD, needs to be between 030 and 100 in this case. Okay, so when you're attacking, if you are given a final attack direction, then you will call, so you will say in from the west. But if you're given a final attack heading, you will call in heading 080 if you're reading 080 from your HUD. Yeah, good luck. Cool. Moving on. That's the restriction that you should always have. Hard deck can also be time on target if we're doing that, but there's also type 3 specific restrictions, because I can't have you have all the fun without some safeguards in place, because I know you pilots, you just want to do your own fucking thing, but no, we have to actually like restrict you, because who knows what kind of troubles you'll get yourself into. So in type 3 restrictions, I can include a target set, I can include geographical restrictions, time restrictions, number of attacks, or weapon restrictions. So I can restrict you to, let's say, so if you're doing type 3, I can tell you like you're approved. You have 5 minutes for your attack. I can tell you, okay, you can drop 2 GBU-12s and 2 GBU-38s when you're in your attacks. I can tell you, you can do 3 passes. I can tell you, okay, keep all effects on a roads, for example. Or I can tell you, keep all effects 100 meters from line 6, or keep all effects within 20 meters of a road, or keep all effects 20 or 200 meters from a village or from civilian buildings, whatever. So I can be kind of creative here when it comes to type 3 specific restrictions, okay? Awesome. Moving on to readback. Ooh. So, mandatory readback items are lines 4, 6, and restrictions, though you don't have to read back everything. Please do not read back everything, just read back what I need you to, which is 4, 6, and restrictions, and I might also ask you to read back something else if I think it's required. If you're doing a BOC, then your readbacks must be from my system, as this is equivalent to correlation. Speaking of correlation, so BOC we mentioned, so if we're doing a BOT, we can either do a target talk on or enhanced target description. When the aircrew can see the target from their hold, so if you're just holding and you can slew your sensor, your TGP on line 6, and then you can see what's going on, then we're doing a target talk on. But if you're, for example, need to do a low-level pop-up attack and you cannot see the target until you're on final, then we're doing an enhanced target description. So for target talk-on, it's fairly simple, straightforward. Just listen to the JTAG and yeah. No, I'm not going to go into details. But for enhanced target description, you basically need a pen and paper, and you're basically drawing what the JTAG is. So the JTAG is explaining, drawing a picture for you with his words, and it's a very good idea for you to use a piece of paper and a pen to draw what the JTAG is describing you, because then when you're doing, for example, a low level pop-up, when you're popping up, you're basically using that piece of paper, that image, and comparing that to what you see, and then you're using that to get a tally on the target. So when you're popping up, you're like, okay, I see this, I see this, I see this, tally, you turn in from the west, and then the JTAG clears you. Okay? Also, when you're doing a BOT, you need to be tally on the target or captured, but everyone just uses tally because, you know, it's semantics. Just say tally if you see the target, and only then can your JTAG clear you after you are tally and you are in. Awesome. So moving on to the funnest bit is the attack. Cool. So we have 9, 10, 11, 12 left. Cool. So the attack. So if you're doing a type 2 control, JTAG might ask you if strike posture is set. That means that you've conducted your fighter-to-fighter brief, so don't forget, just because you've done all this briefing with the JTAG, you also, as a flight lead, need to do your brief with your wingman. Don't forget this. Because you might not be giving, like, the JTAG might not tell you, might not mention tactics at all, so he might not even mention, like, shooter, cover, nothing like that. It's, if he doesn't mention that, it's up to you as the flight lead to decide how we're going to conduct this attack. And make sure your flight is ready to push, and then you can call strike posture set. I've also heard the term tiger for strike posture set. So when you're ready, or even before you're ready, JTAG can just tell you push when ready. So you don't have to call this out. Just, you know, do your brief, whatever you want to do, and then when you're ready to push, just call pushing. Or he might tell you to push immediate. This means, okay, we are in deep shit, we're getting shot at, we need you to push now, so hurry up. Or you can also push according to time on target, which is one of the restrictions as well, if you're doing a time on target attack, if you're doing like a synchronized attack. Yeah. So aircrew is then required to call pushing when you're pushing, leaving IP or IP inbound, whatever sounds cooler to you when you're at the IP. So once you've aligned with your target and your wings level, then you call in. So as I mentioned earlier, you will either say in from the west, or you will say in heading 090. And make sure, if you haven't said tally on correlation, make sure you call tally before you call in. After in, expect clearance, so it's going to be cleared hot. It can be either for the entire flight, or it can be for individual aircraft. So if you're doing shooter with a 30-second separation, and when Hog 11, so dash 1 in this case, calls in heading 090, I'm going to say Hog 11, cleared hot, cleared hot, cleared hot. If I say Hog 11, that only means Hog 11. That means that 12 has not been cleared. So 12 also needs to call in with heading or direction, and then I will say 12 cleared hot. Okay? But if I say Hog flight cleared hot, that means the entire flight is cleared hot. The wingman should call in as well, but if I've already cleared the flight, then he's good to go. Cool? Questions? No questions. Everyone is so quiet today. Nice. So, even my inner voices. What? Who said that? So, use standard brevity for weapon release, time of flight. So for weapon release, it's also a good thing to state the time of flight of your weapon, but if you're doing a laser in line 7, so mark is laser, it's mandatory to do that. If you're doing payways, payway 2, right? Payway 2 or 3? What is it? GPU 10, 12? Is it payway 2 or payway 3? I don't know. I don't care. So if you're doing one of these, state 10 seconds, 18 seconds prior calculated splash, and laser on 8 seconds prior splash. Why 8 seconds? Because in real life, GPU 10, 12, 16 are lose a lot of energy when correcting their flight path because their their winglets are kind of on off, so they're very rough with their corrections. And if laser is turned on before 8 seconds, the bomb can lose too much energy and will fall short of the target. In DCS, it's not such an issue because in DCS the GBU 12 is a perfect glide bomb because it's why would we want simulation in our simulation, right? Anyways, and also lasers overheat, especially ground lasers. Maybe it's not an issue as much today as it was before with like old school soft lamps and shit, or early generation GLTDs, but still lasers can only be on for a certain amount of time before they overheat. Some of this is also simulated in DCS. Also, be a good boy and call when egressing, please. Thank you. In Type 3, we don't do any of this shit. Well, most of the shit. So in Type 3, immediately after correlation, after tally, expect clear to engage call without push call. Once I give you clear to engage, you reply with commencing engagement, obviously when you started pushing. So instead of pushing, just say commencing engagement. Call in on your first attack run. Also be a good boy and call in with direction or heading, but you have already been cleared, so do not expect a reply. I can just reply with continue. That's also a thing. But remember, in Type 3, you've basically been cleared immediately for all of the attacks that you're doing on this 9 line. So when Type 3 restrictions are reached, or Winchester bingo, whatever, call engagement complete. Yeah, so next up is assess effectiveness of attack, which is different from battle damage assessment because, yeah, it is. So after an attack, or an engagement if it's Type 3, JTAC, or the aircrew, or a third party observer, whoever, like a Reaper or something, will assess if effects were good or not. If the mission, if ground commander's intent is not met, then JTAC might request immediate reattack, and he'll state request immediate reattack, same remarks and restrictions. Or he could also change, like if you did an attack from east to west, then he might request immediate reattack from west to east, for example. If an immediate reattack is requested, the aircrew does not have to finish their egress back to the IP and can turn around to attack ASAP. Awesome. Next up is BDA. Actually, so assessed effectiveness is usually done either by the aircraft, but most of the time by the JTAC. Battle damage assessment can be conducted by basically anyone, and we use Salter, which is size, activity, location, time, and remarks. 2 tanks destroyed, location as per line 6, at time 0850 Zulu. 2 Mavericks expended, mission successful. Simple. And the last step is routing, which is, fun fact, also the first step. And then, so when your playtime is over, or your Winchester, or you just don't want to play with me anymore, then I will issue routing instructions to hand you over to the next airspace authority. So I will tell you, okay, establish flight level 220 and egress via CP November. Contact Overlord on 260.5 when yeah, just that when reaching CP or whatever. So yeah, egress my airspace via CP and contact Warlord on 260.5. Simple, right? So I hope that with this lesson, that I managed to kind of unravel the mystery of close air support. Obviously, this is a very short presentation here. There's a lot of nuance, a lot of different shit, and this can get complicated real quick. But I made an effort here to keep it as simple as possible for you guys to follow and be able to understand. And then in the future, you can build upon this and kind of expand your knowledge, your toolbox, and do whatever. So, thank you for your attention, and have a nice day.